Who has two thumbs and likes building tech? That's me. My name is Dane, and thank you for pretty much joining me for going through this ManyChat automation. Now, I do talk pretty fast, so that's why I made sure there's subtitles, and I do talk pretty quickly. So, I'm going to do my best not to make this a marathon, because I will knock this out very quickly. But yeah, if you ever have any questions, just feel free to DM me back. So, if you have this, if you're on a page like this, that means you have successfully started a ManyChat account and you have added this flow into your ManyChat account. Let's talk about how it works. And by the way, if you're following along or if you have the automation and you don't want to watch the video, which would be kind of weird if you're talking to me now, because, hi. What I like to do is I put a couple of notes in everywhere. So, let's go ahead and just talk about this automation. The purpose of this automation is if a follower on Instagram says, "Hey, I want that thing you just talked about. I'm raising my hand." Instead of having to go to each and every profile and having to either DM them and send it to them, or beg for them to opt in, or beg for people to go to your link in bio, if a person says a certain word, depending on the post, they will just simply get it, and that's it. Now, one thing I like to do is I like to go a couple steps further, because when it comes to delivering lead magnet, it actually isn't that hard. I mean, ManyChat has some pretty decent out-of-the-box flows. What I want to do was also make sure that, like, hey, with all these people we're getting, let's just make sure we're not just getting a lot of people. We need to understand who they are, not only for lead generation purposes, but also when it comes to, like, say, your offers. Last thing you want to do is you want to pitch your offer to a bunch of people that you don't actually know if they wanted that offer. So I'm going to walk you through that as well. Now, what I built out here is based more on my business. I am a service-based business. My company's name is Retention Rockstar. Can't really see the logo back there, but it's back there, trust me. And I pretty much do marketing automations. I work with e-com, coaches, course creators, and other service-based businesses. So with the examples I'm showing here is more for my industry. But when it comes to your industry, this is where we get to sit down and hash it all out. So enough of me yabbering. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what we got here. So right here in the beginning, we have our trigger. This is what kicks the whole thing off. When it comes to this, I hate it when it does that. Reset, there we go. And I'm going to hide myself. Let's see, remove. Okay. So when it comes to right here, look, there's me again. What we have for our trigger is when a person comments on a post or reel. Pretty much it is dependent on what word they say. So for example, pizza. And then from there, I can have a public reply automatically go out. Now, once that happens, they will get their first message. Now, you can also do if someone does a story reply or if someone sends you a message. So that way you can kind of capitalize on more than just relying on a person commenting. Like, say if you make a reel and you post it in your story and someone says, "I want that," or they reply and say pizza, that will trigger it. Same with, a person sends a message like, "Oh, I couldn't find the post, but I want the thing. I think it's pizza," something like that. I would recommend adding a couple here for the sake of this purpose. I am just showing that, like, hey, make sure to select your post or reel. Make sure to select your post or reel. If you have a pro account, you can do any of them. If you have posts and reels that are really specific to certain posts, just make sure to select those. So, great. Person has started that, and now they're in our ManyChat. What happens next? Well, let's talk about it. So, first thing I do, and by the way, feel free to change the wording here. This is almost like how I talk. So, first thing we do is like, "Yo, so glad you want XYZ lead magnet," because I strongly recommend when it comes to getting someone going from your social media account, the days of someone just wanting to buy a $2,000 course, while not completely over, are definitely numbered. So right now, I'm just recommending start with the lead magnet. Now, one thing I like to do is I like to make sure that I'm also getting followers. I'm not just giving out free stuff to people who are not following me, because I want to make sure I build that relationship. So first thing I do is I check to see I'm following you. So they get this message and they have to confirm. We have some logic right here. If they do follow us, they will go right on. if they don't, we send them a message and say like, yo, so I know you said you followed me, but real talk, you kind of don't. So if you could do that, that would be great. So once they do, they will actually go right on to the message. And from there, we actually deliver the link lead magnet. Now, you have a couple plays to do this. Me personally, I am sending them to a landing page, which is what you actually just went through, so that I can capture their email address. But you can also do a couple other things here too. If you want to link them directly to the download, you can do that as well. I mean, I probably would host your download on a website, but you have a couple other ways you can deliver that lead magnet. Now, what I like to do is, once I send that, I like to give them a little bit of a break. Because, and as you can tell, I'm trying to exercise this myself, you can't just pummel a person on their phone. It's like, hey, thanks for opting in, dope, we're followers, here's the lead magnet, now here's this, now here's this, now here's this. It's like, let's breathe a little bit. So what I like to do, and this is under what I call option A, and I actually do have an option B down here, which I'll talk about in a second. But option A is where we leverage automation and, to an extent, AI automation. Now, I'm a believer that AI automation pretty much is anything that can kind of think for itself. If you think back in the day, like Microsoft Word processor, you had the little paperclip. I mean, typically that paperclip was AI. So, after a 1 minute wait, what I like to do is I like to start figuring out who these people are. Because it's one thing for them to say, hey, I want this lead magnet, but, who are you? Where are you at? It's just like meeting someone for the first time. You just don't go up to someone, shake their hand, and say, "Great, now go ahead and book a call with me so we can get this done." It's like, no, like for example, since I'm a service-based business, I want to know, like, are you just starting out business? Are you needing tech help? Are you looking to scale your business? So I like to see what a person is actually going to select. Now, to be able to view that, what I do is I also make sure to tag them. When it comes to, and you can see over here in contacts, when it comes to your contacts, it's really easy to get a lot of contacts and not know at all who or what they are. Oops, and this little guy is supposed to be connected there. So what I do is I create these segment tags. So SEG, segment, and what I do is I make sure that if they select starting out, they are at just starting out. So that way, if I ever want to send a broadcast or just simply look at the contacts who are, very much in their beginning phase of starting a business, I know who they are. Same with people who are having tech issues or who are scaling their business. Great. But the thing is, it's like, okay, but what kind of business are you? So then I go on to the next question. What industry are you in? Again, this is all going to be dependent on, what type of business you have, what you sell, who you sell to. I go by industry. So it's creator, e-commerce, coaching, courses, and not sure yet. Because, sometimes you sort of dabble in a bunch of things. So what this allows me to do is if a person selects that they're scaling their biz and they are a creator, maybe they are a content creator, and they are wanting to scale their biz out for more, for more promotions on an email newsletter, for example. That way, when I'm in the contact section and I want to see who those people are so I can actually just directly message them, I can actually just simply filter by industry, creator, and scale my biz. So once we go over here, what I also like to do is keep the conversation going because I don't want to be interrogating, whoever this person is and have it be a game of 21 questions. Let's make it a real conversation. So what I do is based on their answer, I actually start filtering it. Now, I have this little example right here that I put together. This is just based on the segment, but you could get really crafty and do like segment plus creator segment, segment starting out, e-commerce. It's really easy to make these extremely precise. The thing is, you do have to ask, the right relevant questions. So, so after they answer their industry, I simply just segment based on what tags they already have. So if someone, for example, is just starting out in business, I can send them a message say like, great, here are some recommended softwares and resources that I would recommend you start with. It's like, oh, here's HoneyBook. I use that for my own client bookkeeping. Here is ManyChat. Here's ConvertKit. Here's different softwares to consider. When it comes to tech help, I offer, to have a call with me This is a little DIY audit tool that I have for email marketing. And then also I have a link to my tech blog where I have different blog posts going over common tech issues with online marketing. And if it's scale your biz, it's like, okay, great, like let's talk about it. You can book a call. You can check out my strategy blog where I go over different ways to increase revenue and profit. So pretty much what this allows you to do is to have someone come into your sphere of influence, and then you can actually start figuring out who they are. So when it comes to your different offers down the line, whether it be coaching calls, digital products, physical products, you can actually sort out who they are and do broadcasts from ManyChat. Furthermore, now this is one thing I also recommend doing. As I said here, the lead magnet I actually would recommend sending out to a landing page, so they have to opt in to get their email address. That means you can both hit them up for promotions in ManyChat and also in your email list. Because right now, in my personal opinion, the biggest game plan right now is being able to have as direct contact with your potential audience as possible. If that's ManyChat, if that's email, great. Hit them up in a few spots, but don't just blast everyone in one go. Now, I said this is option A. There is an option B. So what you can do is you can use the LLM software like ChatGPT, and that's what I'll just say from here on out. I can actually have ChatGPT ask them a question, request and analyze what they're saying. Now, this could be very useful. One thing I will say, I don't spell well, so I'll make sure this looks a little bit more polished. But yeah, I genuinely have a hard time spelling. I have dyslexia. So what you can do is you can ask a more, conversational question. Instead of above where I said, what is your industry? Pretty straightforward. This is like, hey, what advice can I give you? A good way to think about, like, what are your biggest pain points? Be thorough. Mention software, business challenges. Give me the whole enchilada. I had to use a taco emoji because they don't have enchilada emojis, and I'm from Southern California, and those are different animals. What I do is once they reply, I can actually then talk to ChatGPT, and I can give it a much more thorough response where it will take the person's response. I can then give that to ChatGPT along with the prompt, have them analyze it, and give the person back recommendations, and also save it as a custom field. That's some pretty cool stuff. I also like to give it a small delay. Sometimes this stuff takes a while to process, because the last thing we want to do, as you can tell, is after it processes is send them a message with nothing in it. So if you do decide to go this way, you are going to need to have a paid version of ChatGPT. It also looks like you may have to have, like a certain amount of tokens, similar to Twilio. Twilio, you can use it to send text messages. So just kind of throwing that out there. This is why this is kind of an option B. But as you can tell, it can make something very, very sophisticated. So if you're like, yeah, what advice how can I help? They spill their guts out. And it's like, wow, yeah, I see. Here's my thoughts. Now, see how this is blue right here? That means it is actually going to, that means it's going to auto-populate. So whatever ChatGPT says will actually populate here. And so that gives people some time to read it. Now, I do put in a small 3-second wait timer because this is probably going to be a very large reply. And what I did is I made a little option right here. Hey, if my advice didn't help, click the button below right here, need advice. This actually sends off a notification to, whoever is on your team. For example, my account goes to me, and then it goes to right here. Now, if nothing happens, I just simply wait 5 minutes, because they could be reading this. But after 5 minutes, by the way, a few quick questions to make sure I'm sending you good stuff. And that's the thing, is like, I want to make sure I'm doing you a solid. I'm not just throwing what I think you like. I'm giving you information that you need. Because let's be honest, the economy is hard enough right now. Last thing we want to do is just start getting pummeled with things. So it goes right back to this question. So we can go ahead and get that segmentation out. Because while it's great to go ahead and get this personalized advice, it's also good from just a best practice to always have segmentation on lock. So with that being said, I hope this makes sense. Again, if you have any question, I kind of make it clear that it's pretty easy to reach out to me. My name is Dane, by the way. I genuinely don't remember if I actually introduced myself. So if I didn't, hi, hello, how are you? And I hope you find this tool useful. And I look forward to seeing you again, either in the DMs, on social media, email, and I will see you guys next time. Hey, it's Dane from the training you just watched. And I want to thank you, honestly, for getting all the way through the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and even leave a comment on something else you'd like me to cover. Down below in the comments and the description, I have some free resources for you guys to take care of, so just go for it. Business is hard enough. I'm just trying to give as much as possible.